Good morning, friends. It's Pastor JD here with another morning devotion. I hope that you are having a good day already, that this blesses you, and that the rest of your day just goes as good as can be. I am standing in one of my favorite places. I'm standing in the hallway outside of mine and Jeff's offices here at Saron United Church of Christ. And in this hallway, we have kind of an amazing legacy displayed. We have confirmation pictures dating back to 1906. Our church goes back to 1854, and we have a list of the first confirmation classes, but the first picture we have is from 1906, so 114 years ago. Let that sink in for a second. We have those folks on the wall, and every confirmation picture from then until 2018, which is this one right here behind me. In that 1906 class, there are some familiar names. There's a Bovenschen and a Breadaway and a Kramer. Still families connected to our church. Still plenty of folks connected to those families that go here. Another part of the incredible legacy that this church has. Those are the top 4 rows in our hallway here. The bottom row is our cradle roll. So if we have somebody that has a baby born in our church, up until their age 4 years old, we put their names on this cradle roll. A couple ladies take the time to make this nice little quilt square, and we display that just so that we're praying for those kids as they grow up here. There are 23 names right now on this cradle roll. A couple will graduate from there on Mother's Day. Hopefully we can do that live. Otherwise, we'll do it when we get to be live together. But in this moment, when you look up and see all these pictures dating back far, far, far into the past, that start black and white and don't get color until really kind of recently. And as you see these cradle roll squares that represent the babies that are being raised in our church, you get this sense that this is not only a church where people have been worshiping for a really long time, but this is a church where people are going to be worshiping for a really long time still to come. And that's the message I have for you this morning. I'm standing on this side of the hallway because where I'm standing right behind me is actually my favorite place in the whole church right now. We quote Jeremiah 29:11 a lot. And usually we quote it at the beginning of somebody's life, or the beginning of somebody's journey, or the beginning of something that feels a little bit like we're stepping out of our comfort zone or we don't have total control over. Jeremiah 29:11 reads, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future." And so when someone is confirmed or when someone is born, we often invoke that passage of Scripture. That God will bless you, that God will be with you, that God has a plan for you and a future for you. But I hope you know that the same thing applies to the church, to this church. That God has a plan for us and a future for us. And just as surely as there are 114 confirmation classes going back, there are plenty and plenty of confirmation classes to come. And I think in this uncertain time that we're living through, it's important to say that, to proclaim that, and to believe that. Right here, on this square of this wall is where the next confirmation class's picture goes. And I know who some of those kids are, and I don't know who all of those kids are. And I'm so excited to get to live through that journey with them until their picture's right here in this space. God has a plan and a future for our church. And I'm even more excited about this next thing. Right here is the 24th space for a baby to be born into our church, to be on the cradle roll. And unless something miraculous or really premature happens, that cradle roll is going to belong to my kid, to my son or my daughter. Right here, we're going to have our next confirmation class. And right here, we're going to welcome our next baby into our church family. God promises us that He has a plan for us and a future. I stand in the midst of these pictures that represent lots and lots of stories beginning for folks when they're in their confirmation class, when they were young, and the whole breadth of their life was before them. And many of them have already lived their life and gone on. You can stand in this hallway and get a profound sense of sadness for all the people who have already passed away. Then at the same time, We see these babies underneath these lives that are just beginning, and we know in just a few short years, in 10 to 14 years, all of them are going to be up here in a confirmation picture if they stay in our church anyway. And so along these walls, another part of their story will get told, just like now we're telling the beginning of it. And that's the promise that still exists in the church, even though we're in this uncertain time. There's going to be more birthdays and more births. There's going to be more weddings. There's going to be times of celebration. There's going to be new babies and confirmation classes. There's going to be all the things that ever were again. And God has a plan for those and a future for us. We are in this unusual time. But understand, it's just a moment in time. And when it ends, God's plan for us will be revealed and our future will continue for generations. Amen.